Thank you very much. Thank my colleague, John Larson. It is really not a coincidence that those of us who are standing here today are from the Northeast, and we know how cold it is in New England and in the Northeast. But I wanted to say a thank you to all of you for coming, for folks who are here today, and for my colleagues. You don't do anything on your own and succeed in this institution. You stand tall with others, and it is an honor for me to be here with Ed Markey and John Larson and Peter Welsh. And there are others as well who are champions of this cause. I can recall one of the first issues I was ever involved in was the LIHEAP issue, along with a former colleague of ours and who was from Wisconsin, and that's David Obey. So it's not one part of the country, but the people all over who understand what it means to help people in their hour of need and in difficult and challenging times. To the advocacy groups who are here, we thank you. Everyone who is engaged in the Community Action Partnership, our deep thanks. Your work is vital. What you do in providing energy for all of us and a support system for all of us as we make the fight in this body. We have 8.3% unemployment, 1 in 6 people in poverty in the United States, millions of people all over this nation who are struggling. Now is not the time. It is not the time to afflict these families with higher home heating prices. We are seeing a 10% higher heating oil prices than last winter, 7% higher propane prices. These are the costs that the individuals that my colleagues have mentioned can't afford, and they are not just statistics. They're human beings, and their families and their obligations are real. They hit us particularly hard in the Northeast. We suffer some of the coldest winters in America as a matter of course. We're more reliant on heating oil than any other part of the country. Of the 8.1 million households in America that use heating oil, 6.3 million, or almost 4 out of 5, are in New England. As such, the average Northeastern household that uses fuel oil is forced to spend nearly $2,000 in heating costs in the wintertime. And what we have seen in terms of the LIHEAP program over recent years are massive cuts. The final 2012 budget cut LIHEAP by 25%, $4.7 billion to $3.5 billion. The proposed 2013 budget out this week cuts the program by an additional $470 million. Even before the cuts, we could only afford to help out 1 of every 4 eligible households. Now we'll see millions more who will have to make that extraordinarily tough choice that my colleagues pointed to. And no one should be put in that position. But the damage that will be done by this $470 million cut really the story cannot even be told. That's why I am a co-sponsor. We need to pass Ed Markey's energy assistance bill for American families. I want to tell you because you have people who are here. You have people all over. They're going to various offices. Do not take no for an answer. Fight back. Understand. Ed Markey talked about the billions in subsidies to the oil and gas industry. Start there. Let's pull those back. Talk about the subsidies to big agriculture that we pay in this nation to plant nothing. We're not talking about small farms. We are talking about big agribusinesses. Start with talking about the subsidies that we provide to multinational corporations that take their jobs overseas. We can give you a list of others that you can point to when they tell you we don't have the money to do this. We have the money. Our priorities are misplaced. That's what the issue is here. Let's grab those priority backs. I won't even talk to you about the $147 million we pay to Brazilian cotton farmers. The story is unbelievable. Or the people who can go out and buy a horse for $8.5 million. Horse breeders, and they can take it as a write-off. Let's correct some of those things. before we take it out of the hide of people who are struggling, who are making that choice between buying food, paying their rent, or being able to afford their heating costs. We cannot afford to make these cutbacks and not put this on the backs of the American people. We have a responsibility to ensure that vulnerable families can get by until they can get back on their feet. I urge my colleagues, all of us here today, let's join Ed Markey in the Energy Assistance Act. Let's stand up for LIHEAP in this Congress and in the weeks ahead when we debate this budget. We have to make it possible for Americans to get through this winter and be able to save themselves and their family.
You know, it's an amazing thing to work with Vermont fuel dealers, gas and oil, and talk to them about the calls they get when they're going out on their route to deliver oil, and how absolutely terrified the people are that call. These are good customers. They know them. They're neighbors. And you've got a man going out on a delivery truck, a tough job, cold night, bad weather, dangerous roads, and the call comes in that somebody's temperature is down to 50 degrees. They've got kids. They've got a disability. They don't have the money. And that fuel dealer on the front line has to make a decision. Many of our fuel dealers in Vermont, and I'm sure it's true all around the country, they've started these voluntary contribution funds that a lot of citizens have contributed to try to help people make it. And that's all terrific. There's an enormous amount going on at the local level. But you know what? They can't do it alone. There's got to be public policy. And the folks back home who are needing this help, they don't control the temperature, and they do not control the price of oil. They don't, or gas. They are just on the receiving end of what public policy decisions are made. We have the power to make public policy decisions. And you know, one of the things we should do is crack down on speculation, where even Goldman Sachs says about 30 bucks on the price of a barrel of oil is attributable to the wheeling and dealing on Wall Street. That hits people at home, like Ron in Colchester, who's on disability. He got a $400 check. He's got a $700 fuel bill, and he doesn't know what he's going to do for the rest of the year. Also, what Rosa said, it's unbelievable. You know, the oil companies are doing great. No problem with that. $137 billion in profit last year. $4 billion of that came courtesy of the taxpayers. So why is it that we can afford $4 billion for a profitable industry, but not 300 bucks for Ron, who has no control whatsoever about the price or the temperature? So this is something that absolutely can be done. You know, we've got a great president, but this is a bad recommendation, and we've got to get the support for him to make the right call here. These are tough times, but there's no room to be compromising when on the one hand it's $4 billion that we're giving in taxpayer dollars to profitable countries or companies, and on the other hand we're not helping folks keep a full tank of oil and gas to get them through the winter. Thank you very much.
I represent all the state directors of the LIHEAP program. And state agencies are struggling this year to implement the budget cuts that were just talked about. Program benefits have been cut by about a third, which makes it extremely difficult for families to heat and cool their homes. We're expecting next month to start seeing, for the first time in a couple of years, a significant rise in arrearages and shutoffs as a result of those cuts. Under the president's budget, it's even more draconian. If that was passed, we'd be looking at least 1 million households cut out of the program. So we're facing some very, very difficult times in LIHEAP. Every year we survey families who receive energy assistance. We ask them how the program's working, how it's helping them pay their fuel bills. The primary families that receive energy assistance are the elderly, disabled, and families with young children. It's a very targeted program. 4 years ago, we started asking also, are there any veterans in your home? And again, you know, 4 years ago, the economy was different. Only 12% of LIHEAP families reported a veteran in their house or a veteran receiving energy assistance. This year, it was 20%, a record number. 1 out of 5 LIHEAP families now have a veteran receiving energy assistance. And I think that's because of, you know, continued high unemployment. There are many stories about veterans coming back from Iraq or Afghanistan who have trouble finding a job, or have been working in the workforce and have become unemployed. And what I think the story of LAHEAP is for these families is that LAHEAP helps provide a transitional bridge for many families. It's not necessarily long-term assistance, it's assistance to help you when you're going through a very tough time. With that, I'd like to introduce Eric Lopez. He's a veteran, a Marine, who received energy assistance for about a year during a difficult time he was going through. He's an example of everything that makes LAHEAP a great program. His story is no different from that of most Americans. He's worked hard his whole life. He's served his country. He's raising a family. When the economy went haywire just recently, or last actually a couple of years now, he suffered through no fault of his own. He lost his job. LAHEAP was a key part of the social safety net that helped him get through a tough winter until he could transition to a new career. Eric's story is a success story that can serve as an inspiration to the many veterans who are looking for work right now and serve as a sign of those that LAHEAP is a key program to help people get back on their feet. I'm very pleased to introduce Mr. Lopez. We met Eric in Colorado when we began our series on the faces of LAHEAP about a year ago. We interviewed families across the country to ask them how LAHEAP made a difference in their lives. And we were moved by the many stories of how the program helped people through very difficult times. Mr. Lopez served in the Marines and was honorably discharged in 1987. He rose to the ranks as a corporal. His last position was a heavy machine gunner in the infantry battalion. After serving the military, he became a carpenter and then moved on to construction management. When he lost his job, LAHEAP was a key part of the social safety net that allowed him to make the transition into his next career. With that, I'm delighted and honored to introduce Mr. Lopez.
You're welcome.
I'm a veteran, United States Marine Corps. I'm from Denver, Colorado, and a recipient of LAHEAP. I have a very interesting and compelling story to tell everybody here today, and it goes like this. In September of 2009, just like millions of Americans across this great nation, I was laid off. Had no job, had nowhere to turn to. I had a family to support and take care of, and of course I had the dreaded heating bill that shows up every month. Didn't know what to do. I heard a public service announcement about LAHEAP and how they could help me and my family with the bill. And I put an application, and I was able to download one from the internet, fill it out, sent it back, and within a very short period I was getting the necessary assistance that I needed for myself and my family. Within a month I got another telephone call from a local weatherization agency who also gets funded by LAHEAP. They wanted to come out and weatherize my home to make it more efficient, to make my family more comfortable. While that process was going on, believe it or not, I asked them if they needed help during, to do this weatherization. Being that I was going to school, getting a degree in renewable energy, I thought it would be a good fit for a veteran to work with a weatherization company. And after a 2-week period where I interviewed with the company, I was hired on as their training manager. So that's basically 3 for 3. I got the assistance that I needed. They weatherized my home, then I hit a home run and I got a job.
Sweet.
So, and I'm here to tell you, I appreciate that very much. And with all the veterans coming home from war now, it is imperative that we do not turn a blind eye to our veterans who served us so honorably. We need to take care of them and return that honor. And with that, I'd like to thank the Congress people that have supported this program, and I want to thank the LAHEAP office here in D.C. Would like to thank the Governor's Energy Office in Colorado, and I would like to thank all of you for your support. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Eric. Good job, man.